What's up? What's up, hockey fans? Back again, another episode of the Odd Man Rush right here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel, brought to you by Intense Nutrition in Coral Springs. I am your host, David Dwork. I cover the Panthers for Local 10 here in South Florida, also for 5 Reasons, obviously, as you see me here every week. And yeah, another episode of Odd Man Rush. We're off and rushing. The first thing that I want to get into, there's a few things I wanted to touch on today. But the first thing, kind of perusing the internet today, social media and all that, it seems like a lot of people are starting to get their second half stuff out there and seeing a lot of trophy talk, seeing a lot of Hart Trophy talk. Hart Trophy, of course, goes to the MVP of the NHL every season. And from what I'm seeing today, not much love for Jonathan Huberto. No. And look, do I think he's a favorite right now for the Hart Trophy? No. Do I think he should be in the conversation? Yeah. I mean, yeah. The guy is leading the league in scoring right now. And yeah, I know Draisaitl, McDavid have played less games. Yeah, I get it. Okay? We're all grown-ups here. But point being, to this point, 47 games, the guy has been liquid. The guy's been insane. He's having a career year. He's gotten better and better and better with each of the last few years. Still, what is he, 27, 28 now? Still in his prime, just getting into his prime, just like Barkov and Ekblad and Reinhart and Bennett and so many other guys on this friggin' team that are right entering their best, what should be the best years of their career. But Jonathan Huberto has done nothing but absolutely fill the role of a guy who was taken with a lottery pick, with a guy who has, I mean, he started as a teenager, right? He's worked his way up. He won the Calder Trophy. You know, I try not to fall into the whole Panthers respect rabbit hole thing, but I have to wonder, this is the first year that the Panthers are really getting like mainstream attention, right? Which, obviously you have to do if the team is top of the league, which the Panthers have been right there, either leading the league or right around the top, whether it was points or points percentage. I mean, they've been there. This has been the best regular season to this point that the Panthers have ever had. I was reading earlier today that in the last 30 years, through 47 games, I think the Panthers have the third most goals of any teams since 93. And I mean, on that list was, I think the Avalanche were on that list, the one that beat Florida in 98. I think Detroit, 93, 94, that insane year they had. I think they were maybe tops on that list. Ottawa, the year they went to the finals and lost to Anaheim, I think was on that list. I mean, it's like historic what the Panthers are doing right now, especially in terms of Panthers history, right? And Huberto has been such a big part of that. He hasn't been out of the lineup this year. His durability has improved, which is, goes hand in hand with all the work he's been putting into his body, building his muscles, becoming tougher, bulking up. It all goes hand in hand. Now, I get that the Hart Trophy shouldn't be all about statistics, which is kind of where the Huberto element plays in my opinion. It's not just that he's putting up a ton of points, which he is, regardless of who's on his line, by the way, and we're going to get into that in a little while. But, I mean, what's he been doing this year? He's been on the PK, right? Haven't seen that before. He's been winning board battles, puck possessions, which we haven't seen a lot of. He's magical with the puck, but, wasn't always the biggest, toughest guy. He's fixed that. He put in the work. At the end of the day, when I think about MVP, I'm thinking of the guy who's the most valuable player to his team. Okay? So this is where it gets a little murky for me with Huberto. As I said, he should be in the conversation. I mean, I'm seeing lists today of 10 deep that he's not on. And what is that? Yeah, I get that maybe, you look at other guys as MVP right now. Okay. But at least in that conversation, the fact that he's not in the conversation just blows my mind. Now, when I look at MVP, I'm thinking, okay, if you take this guy away, which team is going to be hurt the most? And that in turn would say, okay, well, he's probably the most valuable player to his team, right? Panthers are so deep that, God forbid, you lose a Jonathan Huberto, just as we lost Sasha Barkov for an extended period of time. Duclair was out. We saw what happened with Aaron Ekblad last season. The Panthers can maintain because they're so deep. So that's where, I think maybe there, at the end of the day, there may be other guys that are deserving of the award at the end of the season. However, he should be getting votes. He should be in the conversation. And we don't know how the second half of the season is going to play out, by the way. In addition to the crazy points pace that he's been on consistently, maybe he helps this Panthers team take it to another level. A lot of the players have said that, like, as good as they've been, they still see room for improvement. They have not hit the ceiling yet. And that's especially would be true of their best players, right? So, yeah, it's just, I'm not gonna dwell on this for too long. It's just like, Arthur Fist, whatever that meme is, like, whatever. At the end of the day, the Panthers are at the top of the lead right now. Hopefully we're going to have the fun playoff run that Panther fans have been, I don't even want to say like desperate for at this point, because it just hasn't happened let's see. The last time the Panthers won a playoff series, I was 13 years old. And I just had my 39th birthday last week. That's a long time to go between playoff wins for any franchise, for any fan base. And for me, that's at 26 years. That's a whole generation of fans that haven't seen any postseason success with this team. Okay? You talk about building up a fan base. And I mean, you can say the same for Dolphin fans down here in South Florida. Like, how are parents, people my age, telling their kids, oh, yeah, I love this team. We're going to root for this team. We're going to spend money and sweat and tears and dedication and love to this team when, I guess we're teaching them values of, loyalty, but there's got to be some payoff. I mean, that's kind of the point of watching sports. You want some celebration time. You got it with the Heat. Those were amazing years, the big 3 years. I will never hate on LeBron James or any of those people because they brought us 4 of the most amazing years as sports fans that you're ever going to experience in any sport. So very grateful for that. I mean, the friggin' Marlins have won 2 World Series, 2, since the Panthers last won a playoff series. The Marlins. So, yeah, I feel like I got a little side tangent thing, whatever. But, like, I'm guessing you guys know where I'm coming from. Anybody who's followed this team for any extended period of time should understand that. All right. I'll move on to something a little bit more positive. I'm going to get into the AllStar Weekend in a second. I was actually going to start the show with that, but after seeing all that Huberto stuff, I just kind of got my hockey blood boiling, so I wanted to get into that. But then something else that happened between when I planned the show and now was some positive news. Mason Marchment, the Swiss Army knife of the Florida Panthers, one of the hardest working but nicest dudes, just good. You want to root for this guy. He's kind of like in the same breath as Ryan Lombard in that regard. But Mason Marchment was named the NHL's 3rd star of the week. Really, it was it's just for that ridiculous game he had in Columbus where he had 6 points, tying Olli Jokinen's franchise record. But since he's returned and finally, right? Because we saw glimpses of what he could bring last year. He popped around. He was on the 3rd line. He was on the 1st line. He kind of went wherever was needed. And that's great for a team like this. But now that he's, he dealt with injuries earlier in the season, he had caught COVID. So he spent some time in the COVID list and talking to guys who have kind of gone through that this season. While, every case seems to be a little bit different, one of the more consistent things that at least I've heard and that I've been told is that there's a bit of an adjustment when you recover from that. just kind of getting your feet back under you on the ice, getting to that energy level, getting where you can feel comfortable and confident that you're giving everything that you have, which is what these guys do. So it takes a little time to get back from that. But kudos to Mason Marchment because, I mean, look, he's over a point per game. He's got 23 points in 22 games. And this is a guy that can play on any line and hold that line, whether it's playing on the top line, hanging onto the puck with more position, a little bit more skill, whether it's been playing on a third line where, I mean, similar skill in that regard, but I mean, the tough grittiness, that no regard for his body at all, just kind of hitting guys wherever he can. It's kind of like an old school type of hockey mentality, but with some skill. I mean, look, nobody's really heard of Mason Marchment before last season. They got him in the trade for Dennis Mulligan a couple of years ago with Toronto. But the proof is in the pudding. And what we've seen from Mason Marchment on the ice, how can you not love it? How can you say this guy is not deserving of maybe a 2-3 year deal? Maybe, 15, 20 minutes of, I mean, look, I'd say ice time, but I mean, this whole Panthers team everybody gets ice time. That's what makes them so good, is that they just roll their lines. Mason Marchment, rolling lines, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. I've gained a lot of respect for the player that Mason Marchment is. And now that we're seeing him once again on an every game basis, it just kind of helps you to gain that appreciation. I really just love the physical element to his game. He's not a big bulky guy. He's tall. He's a little lanky. He's strong as hell. What doesn't get talked about a lot with Marchment, though, that you kind of noticed, especially the last few games when he's been playing on that line with Lundell and Reinhart, is the ice vision, the ability to track where his teammates are on the ice, the ability to find them with the puck or get to the open spaces. He kind of reminds me of Noel Acciari in that regard, where he just always kind of knows the right places to be, particularly in the offensive zone. Defensive end, I mean, with both guys, Acciari and Marchment, more with Acciari, but I mean, defensive end, they're fine, responsible. But in the offensive end, finding those soft spaces, finding the dead spots in the defense, really good at doing that. And for Marchment being on that line with, a couple of playmakers like Reinhart and Lundell, I mean, we see the results. We saw it, the last few games before the All-Star break. Hopefully we're going to see more of it into the second half. I mean, that's a line I wouldn't mess with. The bottom six, really, I mean, if everybody's healthy, some interesting questions of how you're going to maneuver the ice time. And just kind of wrapping up on Marchment before I talk about our amazing sponsor, Intense Nutrition, in just a moment. But just wrapping up on Mason Marchment, walking the path that he walked. This is a guy who, he sowed his oats in the OHL, went pro, had to spend time in the ECHL with the Orlando Solar Bears, just up the state. Worked his ass off in the NHL, got traded, had to, acclimate himself and prove himself to a whole nother team. That team switches front offices, got to do it all over again. This guy has always been climbing mountains. He's always been trying to persevere, and seeing that get paid off for him right now. I mean, look, anybody who's worked their ass off to achieve anything in their life can appreciate that this guy's had to do it to get on the grandest scale in the most talented, hard to tough to reach league. So just, from me to you, just keep that in mind when watching this guy. He has come a long, long way, and he's still just 26. Another guy entering their prime years. So, props to Marchie, third star of the week for the NHL. Hopefully a sign of things to come, that he can stay in the lineup, stay healthy. And, I mean, look, you think what we've seen, the sky's the limit, right? Okay. Before I get into the All-Star Weekend stuff, I want to talk to you a minute about Intense Nutrition, the sponsor of the Odd Man Rush, located at 2540 North University Drive up in Coral Springs. Just up the street, head east on Sample, bus the right, go south on University, and they'll be on the right-hand side corner of University and Royal Palm. I mean, just kind of looking at all the options they have there. I always tell you, if you're looking for big box value prices, but the personal touch of a local business with an amazing staff, Intense Nutrition is the place you need to go. Superior quality and superior service is a guarantee. I love talking about the staff at Intense Nutrition just because these people know their stuff. They got amazing knowledge and vitamins, supplements, whatever you need. They will work with you one-on-one. If you need a specific stack, you want to fight off flu and cold season as we're kind of meandering our way through right now, whether you're an active athlete, you're working out all the time, you're playing kickball leagues, hockey leagues like I am, or if you're also like me, just getting a little bit older. Like I said, I just turned 39, which young, no doubt, but their bodies go through changes, right? I've been taking a lot of vitamins every day and it's kept me healthy. I've been getting sick almost never. It really helps to take care of your body, and nobody's going to help you take care of your body than the people at Intense Nutrition. They also offer the Intense Cleanse and Detox. If you're looking to lose some weight, if you want to lose 10 to 15 pounds in just 10 days, go to Intense Nutrition and ask for the Intense Cleanse and Detox, and they will hook you up. And like I said, anything you need, if you have like pre-workout, post-workout regimens that you're looking to refine, you want some advice on, just pop in the store. They'll help you out with whatever you need. That's Intense Nutrition, 2540 North University Drive in Coral Springs, right on the corner of University of Royal Palm. Or you can give them a call. The number's right there on the screen, 954-775-0257. That's Intense Nutrition. Also, just a quick shout out to Manny Chang behind the scenes, doing all the right things. It's a great thing watching Manny work. So yeah, getting to the skills or the All-Star Weekend, excuse me. I'm going to start with the skills competition, but I mean, like the All-Star Weekend was fun, right? Sure. It's a nice little break from hockey, the craziness of the season. It does get very, speaking of intense nutrition, it's an intense hockey season. So it was nice to kind of, take a step back from that and just, enjoy the pageantry and, the prestige and, it was Vegas. So obviously everything was kind of like taken to another level. The skills competition, maybe it's just me getting older, but I used to love the skills competition when I was growing up. Loved it. And, thinking back to like the All-Star games that I watched when I was a kid, when they had those 6-star jerseys, back Van Beesbrook was in a couple of them. It's just different now, right? I guess, I don't know. Maybe I'm just the old man yelling at the cloud, but all right. So let's just go through the skills competition real quick. I mean, the fastest skater has always been around. It's cool. Can't really change that, but I like it. I like that this year there was an upset with Jordan Kyrou. Connor McDavid, there's talk that he's kind of been nursing an injury and may not have been able to play in the All-Star game. But again, it's a skills competition, right? Like, but yeah, the fastest skater, that's cool. I did like the save streak event. I thought that was a cool way of kind of getting goalies on the same team to work as a team. Because look, goalies, we're kind of out there on our own, right? It's not like I can get a goalie assist to my goalie buddy and have him pop into the crease if I get bailed out or, if I make a wrong play. Like there's 5 skaters up there backing each other up, and, goalies are just kind of on a little blue semicircle island out there. So this was a cool way to kind of get them, opposite sides of the ice, but still working as a tandem, working as a team. And I thought that was cool. And it was also nice to see the Atlantic Division's goaltenders really dominate with, I think they had like 9 or 10 saves in a row between Jack Campbell and Andrei Vasilevsky. Would have been nice if they saved a few more for the Sunday event, or for the Saturday event, rather, for the big game. But, whatever. The fountain face-off was it was exciting to think about when they announced it. Jonathan Huberto is going to participate. They're literally on platforms in the water in front of the Bellagio with the amazing fountains. It's, you go to Vegas, you walk the strip, you're going to walk by the Bellagio, you're going to see the fountains, you're going to stop and spend your obligatory 30 seconds or whatever listening to some cool music and watching the fountains. So this was a cool way to incorporate one of the more iconic parts of Las Vegas into the skills competition. The event underwhelmed. I mean, it's like, look, we're going to do sauce passes and slap shots with LA Light edition pucks, for those of you that remember those old LA Light shoes that were friggin' awesome back in the day. But I mean, and putting Huberto first was, and any of these unknown things that nobody has ever done before. The first person through the wall was always going to get the most bloody, right? So yeah, I mean, I think honestly, the event where like that old thing they used to do with like those mini narrow nets where they'd have to like do a saucer pass across the ice and get into those little targets. I really think that was maybe a little bit more exciting than this thing. But again, it was more about being in the water and all that. So the hardest shot, again, that's a staple. Always going to do that. Victor had back in the day. You remember like in the days of like Ally Frady, or Al McInnes. When a guy hit triple digits, it was like whoa, holy shit. Now everybody's like 106, 107, 108. I mean, I don't know. It's still cool to see, but it doesn't like blow your mind the way that it, at least for me, the way that it did when I was a kid. Like really cool stuff. So I guess what's the next milestone going to be, like 110? I mean, look, other than getting a goalie to maybe shit their pants on the ice, which I might do if I ever was confronted by a slap shot hard. You know, again, you notice the theme here. It's like a lot of meh. The breakaway challenge, just I like the concept. I think it's cool that the players get to be original, but it's just like, I don't know. Is the point to just put on a little show and it has really nothing to do with the actual breakaway? And I feel bad for these token goalies out there. Was it Manon Rhéaume and Wyatt Russell? I mean, you think like, oh, Manon Rhéaume played an NHL preseason game. Obviously, one of iconic. Wyatt Russell, he's an actor, but he played college hockey goalie. He knows what he's doing. And they're basically out there like crash test dummies. Like if they stop the puck, it's almost a disappointment because you got these like weird half-assed efforts where they're in costumes and they're playing dodgeball and they got like a mini me going out. It's just like what is it exactly? Is it just like the show portion of the skills competition? I don't like at least in the dunk competition when they start, like when I think it was like with Dwight Howard and Nate Robinson with the whole Superman kryptonite. Like I think that's what kind of started a lot of this, I guess, pageantry costume, sketch stuff. But those still paid off with a dunk at the end. You see what I'm saying? I think if you at least want to do this breakaway challenge where you're like getting guys to dress up and do these different quirky things, like the actual scoring of the goal and finishing it off, like Trevor Zegras did, that was the cool one. Because not only did he, he had the cool, everybody loves Dodgeball, great movie. Puts on the skanky looking, blindfold, and then he pulled off that ridiculous puck on the toe of his stick, like moving it around. I mean, that was impressive. And the fact that he did it all blindfolded, that was cool. And that was, I think that was by far the coolest thing. That should have won the whole skills competition for his team right there. Because I think that is what you want to shoot for with this kind of event. Everything else kind of underwhelmed. The blackjack game was kind of cool, kind of quirky. It kind of dragged on for a little while. I'd like to see something like that, maybe with like a Wheel of Fortune type thing where maybe like you can switch up, what they're shooting at. There's definitely some avenues that you can travel down that this could be a pretty cool idea. Press your luck with whammies popping up out there. There's something there. This felt like it was very rudimentary. I mean, the cards were like literally cards that they were shooting pucks through that were like falling off, which again, it was cool and everything, but it's 2022. We have like hologram flippy phones. And I mean, we've got like virtual reality that people are wearing it. I think we can do a little bit better than that. But again, there's definitely something there. And then maybe my favorite part of the skills competition, just maybe because it's nostalgic, is the accuracy shooting. And I always go back to like Ray Bork back in the day. But just when a puck goes through those little foam targets and the crowd's getting louder and louder as guy hits one target, two targets, he's got 3 out of 3. Like that is fun. That it's building. That's exciting. And yeah. And again, you can have fun with it. Maybe, moving targets that go around the goal or something like that. Like you remember the old NFL quarterback challenge where they like the moving targets going across the field. So again, I love the idea of the skills competition. I just think maybe a little bit more thought process and effort could go into it. Make it a little bit more fun. So, anyway, as for the All-Star games themselves, not bad. Kind of indicative of what 3-on-3 has become overall, which is not bad. Not as exciting as it was at the beginning. The All-Star game, the 3-on-3 overtime, same thing. The goaltending was a lot. I noticed it a lot more than I would have expected. I thought, I said it, the Atlantic Division goalies were kind of meh in the game. I thought Thatcher Demko, UC Saros, John Gibson, Tristan Jarry, I thought they were all spectacular. I thought Freddie Anderson was very solid, maybe not as tested as the other guys, but obviously stopped a lot of pucks, kept the puck out of the net. The save of the day was Cam Talbot, that ridiculous rebound where he had to dig and push his leg back. Oh, that got me out of my chair watching the game. That was an awesome save. And then one other cool thing that I just kind of taking away from the game, Jack Hughes, this guy's going to be a superstar in this league. Wow. I mean, he was cool in the skills competition, but you could tell that this kid has talent. I mean, he's still just 20 years old, just getting his feet wet. Panthers talked about, the ceiling being high with an Anton Lundell and, what Spencer Knight may be. Jack Hughes, he's going to be a superstar in this league. He's going to be fun to watch. Devils definitely have something with him. Jonathan Huberto, had a fun weekend at the All-Star game. He had this Atlantic Division lost in the semifinal, but he and Austin Matthews had some cool chemistry together. Hubie had a goal and an assist, and looked like he had some fun. I think he's used to playing with maybe guys that are a little bit more responsible and turn the puck over a little bit less. Sorry, Austin. But, it's the All-Star game, so not everybody's really pushing it like that. And again, props to Andrew Burnett, the Panthers head coach, for being at the All-Star game. He looked like he had a lot of fun there, taking part in all the festivities and everything. Obviously, with a coach, it's a little bit more about the honor of being selected than it is about the actual coaching in the game. But again, it's nice to see the Panthers interim head coach, getting some recognition at the All-Star game. Now, ways that I would improve the All-Star game, like I said, the big production things that they advertise and they sell, they got to deliver a little bit more. Okay. I understand that at the end of the day, the promotion and getting the eyes on the event is the goal for you if you're the NHL. But look, from a fan's perspective, you need to deliver on those promises. I would bring back the rapid fire for the skills competition as a goalie. I always thought that was pretty cool. Just back and forth, 10 pucks. And overall, you can use the goalies a bit more. Why not have a fastest skater goalie event? Shooting or passing accuracy for the goalies. I remember a few years ago they did a thing where goalies would try to score a goal, but that's not exciting. The puck's traveling 200 feet. Let's liven it up a bit. What are goalie trick shots? You don't think a goalie can do the Michigan? A goalie can do the Michigan. Okay, well, we need to see that in the skills competition. And another suggestion, we're talking about kind of 3-on-3 getting a little stagnant, getting a little meh. Why not rotate? 1 year you do 3-on-3, 1 year you do 4-on-4, 1 year you do 5-on-5. Let them get a little more physical out there. Mix it up. What do you got to lose? It's better than letting things kind of grow stale and dull, right? So those are my suggestions. And the one thing that I wanted to talk about, man, it's amazing how I don't get to everything that I list that I want to get to every week. But one thing I did want to kind of put in my 2 cents before we wrap up the show is I noticed, I'm sure we all noticed, the games leading up to the All-Star break, Jonathan Huberto and Sasha Barkov were putting the same line more and more, to the point where the last couple of games, I think they just kept them there. I don't really like that anymore. I'm over it. And honestly, I don't think it has the same kind of wow factor that it did maybe last season or early even this season. I think, Huberto is going to lift up a line, just like Sasha Barkov is going to lift up a line. These are two superstars in the NHL. Huberto's chemistry with Sam Bennett as his center, there's no denying that those two have something on the ice. Why would you split them up? Sasha Barkov and Carter Verhaeghe have been a great pair. Keep them together. If you need to rotate that top line third right wing spot, between Anthony Duclair. I mean, right now we like Sam Reinhart on that third line with Lundell and Marchment. I don't want to touch that third line. But I also don't want to touch Huberto and Bennett being together. And I like Duclair on the top line. His best play this season has been with Barkov and Verhage on the top line. Bennett's best play this season has been with Huberto on his left. We're going to have some issues, good issues, with the return of Noah Chari, which should be, he may be back when the All-Star break is over. We'll see what happens when they resume practices. But he went to his conditioning stint with Charlotte. I haven't been privy to any issues or any setbacks with that. So I would imagine that he's on track for his return. It's just even more depth. But where does he fit in? Somewhere on that fourth line, you would think. I mean, injuries are going to happen. But my point is, if you need to put Barkov and Huberto together for a shift or two, when you need a goal at the end of a game, I get that. But having them together for these extended periods of time, for games on a whole at this point, you're doing more damage than good, in my opinion, as in the trickle-down effect. All right, that's my 2 cents. I'm losing my voice. I need to have some Red Bull. But that's it. I'm going to wrap up the show at this point. I went a little over, taking some of Manny's extra time. So, yeah, that's it for this week's episode of the Odd Man Rush, brought to you by Intense Nutrition. Thank you again to my amazing producer, Manny Chang, who you don't see and you don't hear, but he's doing everything right, making sure that the show gets out to you guys. Can't give Manny enough credit. This guy's the hardest working man in sports, one of. And I'm grateful for you, brother. Thank you to everybody for commenting, for tweeting, for watching, for listening. Until next time, David Dwork from Local 10. I will see you next week. Have a great, great week. And I can't say go Panthers. They don't have a game for another 2 weeks, but we'll get back at it next week. Maybe we'll do some goaltending talk. We'll see where the team is at. But again, thank you for watching. This has been David Dwork signing off.